All right, we begin with a movie review to tie in the significance of the men and women who have served this great country. Even though it's been out since 1978, filmed in Mingo Junction, which was supposed to be Clairton, Pennsylvania. Robert De Niro, Christopher Walken, Meryl Streep. All right, The Deer Hunter. Talk about the significance and what it means to our Vietnam veterans. And if you haven't seen that movie, especially if you're a high schooler or someone a little older, maybe you need to watch it to understand the sacrifices that were made, not only of the men and women, which were pretty big, to say the least, but to what our Western Pennsylvania, Eastern Ohio, and West Virginia truly was like, and how we were built on the backbone of hard work by a lot of those immigrants who made their living in the steel mills.
Well, it was the first movie about the Vietnam War to come out and showed, one, the intensity and the insanity and how that war affected families back here as well as the men who went over to fight it. So there was a lot of attention paid to it. But remember, what song did they sing at the end when they buried
God Bless America.
Right. Yeah, so it did have, I think what it shows now in retrospect is how tough time those guys had it who were sent to fight that war and what they had to deal with when they came back.
All right, you want to say anything about that?
I know when I'm overmatched, I'm not going to get into that.
Well, this is my argument and why I'm not such a big fan of the border wall, is because I think immigrants still are significant as who we are in this country, and I know the Bambino feels the exact same way about this. If it wasn't for those immigrants back then, and many of those are coming to this country legally today,
Don't speak for me.
I don't think America would be as great as it has been and will continue to be because of their hard work.
Well said.
All four of my grandparents came from the old country, so
And they fought and served in the United States military, some of them too, right?
exactly. The old man did, yeah. World War II, the big one.
Tell them about your new book about Vietnam, then we're going to get
Well,
to
it's
sports.
50 years since the Tet Offensive, so I've been talking to the members of the 3rd Brigade of the 82nd Airborne who got called up to fight in that battle, and they got the name the Gold Brigade. So, and it's not just what they did 50 years ago; it's how they had each other's backs then, and they still have each other's backs. They still take care of each other and sit around and moan or complain or anything. They had full lives, and the important thing is to remember those who didn't return, because if there's one thing we can agree on about Vietnam, we should remember the people who fought it and the people who didn't come home.
All right, definitely. Now, I want to talk about the Winter Olympics and kind of tie in the world stage again. Why can't we all get along other than the Winter Olympics in real life? And I think of the North Korean athletes that are there. Yes, Kim Jong-un may be their leader, but they're human beings like the rest of us. I think about the Russian athletes, and I know we have issues with Vladimir Putin in that country, but these are human beings just trying to raise their children and to have a better way as well. It's still one of the best stages to see people just get along.
Well, you bring people together from all over the world in athletic competition. I mean, don't forget the original idea of the Olympics when the Greeks invented them was they would suspend fighting wars and have these competitions. So, it was a different kind of competition, and it still works that way to some extent. You look past the flagrant, overblown promotions and whatever else, but you see some of these competitions and these young people just giving it their all to try to win.
All right, before we talk about the young man from Peters Township, and I wanted to make sure we talked about him, talk about the incredible snowboarder that decides to give it a shot as a skier and outdoes the great Lindsey Vonn. This is a great story.
Oh, she's from the Czech Republic too. Esther Ledecky.
Ledecky.
Right, and she's a snowboarder. And said, I'll borrow a pair of skis from the Atomic Ski Rep. And she does the Super G, and she wins the thing by 1/100th of a second. I mean, 9 inches is what it comes down to.
A tremendous human interest story, Bob. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Go.
There, but it was fantastic. See, she was the 43rd rated skier in there, and what was about the coverage was amazing was they had given the award basically to the lady that was in first place, and it was just an oh by the way, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, wait a minute, this is going to be a pretty good run here, we better pay some attention to this thing.
There was a movie with Robert Redford in it called Downhill Racer.
1967.
Yeah, and it was basically that. You say, you're down at the bottom and you're celebrating, and out of nowhere comes somebody who puts together a run. And you start looking at that clock. The clock doesn't lie.
Also, Gene Hackman. Now, John Henry Kruger young man from Peters, Pittsburgh native, wins the silver in the 10,000 meter short program speed skating.
You talk about a guy that's got some athletic determination. 10,000 meters, a long way to go in that type of event. That guy's legs had to be burning, killing him. He had the lead won his heat, and then got into the next race that ended up with a silver medal. Great accomplishment. Hats off. Kudos.
Headlines real quick. Pens today. Columbus, obviously coming off the win against Toronto. They've won 11 straight at home. They're a point out of first place behind Washington. They've turned it around in a big way in the Metropolitan Division. And, of course, Columbus, a divisional opponent as well, and they've lost 2 in a row, and they're just trying for their playoff life. You've got Bubba Watson leading the Genesis Open by, a one shot. He's at 10 under. You, of course, got Pitt at Florida State today, 6 o'clock tip-off. Pitt, IMG Sports 93.7 The Fan. And Alex Bowman is on the pole for the Daytona 500. So go to Jimmy K's and have something to drink, have something to eat, and watch great sports in New Brighton.
Plus the NBA All-Star.
I was going to get to that.
Sorry.
I know. I get it. Ladies and gentlemen, that's at 8 o'clock, by the way, Staples Center. And now for Bob Dvorak and Greg Diolis, I'm Rob Pratt. Good night.